Hi, welcome to Sai Institute of Education. This is Sam, I'm your host. Today, I'm going to present you an IELTS-based topic, Task 2, and I have got a couple of comments from students. And so, I have been doing agree, disagree and all. So today, on their demand, I'm going to do one essay, cause and effect, right? Now in cause and effect essays, you have you will be facing basically two different options, like whether you may be asked some kind of opinion based topic, or there won't be any opinion, right? It's just we have to analyze the topic specifically, where we can write I believe and all the stuff, and where we don't need to, right? So that will reduce your band score. Okay, so this video of today is specifically for IELTS aspirants. All right, now let's get started. Today, the topic which we are going to do is few people devote time to hobbies nowadays. Say why you think this is the case and what effect this has on the individual and society in general, right? So now this is a cause effect essay. Now let's analyze how. Few people, like I told you in my main video, of basic task 2, in that when we read the essay, first of all, you must do 10-minute planning. It is very necessary. I'm going to tell you again, if you do 10-minute planning, you will be coming to know what exactly you're going to write in your essay. That way you will not derail from your topic, and it may lead to being off topic. That would also hamper your score. Okay, so always do 10-minute planning. In this you can generate ideas. In this you can think of synonyms, what else you can write, some kind of expressions and all that stuff. Now let's analyze the topic first so that we can get our idea specifically. Now it says few people. So first of all, that whenever we read our topic, we need to see how many, proportion of people we are talking about. Here it's few people, right? Devote time to hobbies nowadays. So once again, few people, so not many, right? Which means nowadays. So nowadays, which means we are talking about past as well. We are comparing with it. So in the past, people were devoting too much time, but nowadays only few people are devoting time. Why? You think this is the case. You think so. We can write in this topic like I believe. Okay, because directly it is asked to you why you think this is the case. So which means what are the reasons, right? Why people are not able to spend too much time on their hobbies nowadays, and what effect this has on the individual and society in general. So society as whole. Now let's talk about the ideas. As we know that, okay, you need to first of all take the idea in yourself, right? Now, how much time do you normally spend on your hobbies? When we asked in IELTS speaking, so what are your hobbies? We confidently say, I like listening music and sometimes, hang out with my friends. Very basic answer, right? But do you actually do that? How often you listen to music anyway? While you're traveling, right? If you're driving, if you're riding in a bus, like you're being a passenger, you're going somewhere, then only you would listen to music. Other than, do you do? No. What do? You basically stay glued to your mobile phone. You don't get any time off to, like not to chat with your friends and actually go out and hang out with them, right? So this is the first reason we can think of, we are basically so much, technology has revolutionized that we are overspending our time onto digital devices, right? That is consuming a lot of your time. Now why am I saying? Because the next part is effect. Very common idea. If you are basically spending too much time on digital devices, which means you're causing harm to your eyes, besides you're also causing harm to your other health ailments, like obviously there will be other health ailments. Next thing, we can also think about, like here it's mentioned few people. Now people, what kind of people can you think of? Can you think of like children, or can you think of the workaholics, right? So if you can think of children, then also you can write, right? Children, so they are not able to spend time on their hobbies because they have too much of burden of their studies, right? If you're talking about people, so I'm going to write about workaholism, right? So now people basically, as it is very common nowadays, in almost every country, that people have extended their hours of working, right? Why? Because they want to earn more. Why? Because they want to be like others. So what is it? They have become materialistic, right? So materials, they are after materials, that they want to purchase those materials. They want to, like have the sense of fulfillment, right? Rather than spending time with others and, enjoy their life, what they used to before. Right, so these two reasons will just write, and just remember the topic when I'm going to write. It's not about like how I'm writing. I'll be writing very simple. I told you, you just need to work on your development. Only few words you need to write, and I guarantee you that will definitely lead you to more, like 7 band score for sure, 7 plus, right? Examiners are over there, not there to judge how beautiful words you're writing. Obviously it's a factor, but not too many. Okay, because it's a human nature. I'm telling you again, like you can't just fill your essay with a lot of vocabulary and you don't have your grammar, right? You don't have your sense of elaboration of your ideas that you're writing. You're writing multiple ideas. You don't have one central idea in your essay. These are the things that are lowering your band score. And when you come back from your exam, you always say that task 2 was very easy, task 1 was very easy, speaking was very easy, and then you end up getting about 5.5, 6.5, and they say, I don't know, where did I do wrong? Why didn't I get the good band scores? So these are the main reasons, that why you are basically getting the lower band score. Okay, this is something I teach my students every day. Pick one idea, central idea, create, 2 sub points. That's okay, right? But there should be a proper development. Raise questions in your mind. Why? Whatever sentence you write, ask yourself why, how, what, why. This will definitely make you stop somewhere, and that is your result. Okay, now let's start writing. First and foremost is your introduction. Now, as I have discussed, this essay is obviously about, we are going to write, about technology, something, digital era and all that stuff. So let's begin with a general phrase, that we can write. There is no gainsaying the fact. Now, we had seen in the topic, it was clearly mentioned that few people are devoting time towards their hobbies. Right? So, there is no gainsaying the fact that the recreational activities. Now, these are why I'm writing, because of our hobbies, right? So, that the recreational activities and the time spent on it, right, on it has, there's one word I'm going to give, nose dived, right? Nose dived in the recent decades. Now, I just made a general statement, right? Now, this general statement, as you can see in the topic, it's already given to you, right? So we just paraphrase that. Now, there is no gainsaying the fact, which means I'm writing a fact, right? The fact is already given in your statement. So I'm just adding up a phrase. There is no gainsaying the fact that the recreational activities, now these are hobbies, and the time spent on it has nosedived in the recent decades. What is nosedived? Nosedived means gradually declining, something that is gradually declining. Okay, so nosedived in the recent decades. Now we need to obviously talk about the causes and effects. That's right. So remember, you need to be very clear in your introduction only what your essay is going to be about. So don't write just general statements, like this essay will talk about some reasons and some effects, right, in the upcoming paragraphs. No, this is not the acceptable line, because you are not giving a clear picture to the examiner. It's just like going to a bookstore and buying a book where you go through the introduction, says that read yourself, right? So you need to be specific a little bit. This definitely will help you to increase some of your points, contributing towards your band score 100%, because you will be achieving your points if you're being specific here, whether it's your opinion or this thing, right? You'll be contributing towards task response, your cohesion, and your coherence. Definitely it improves from there. So now there are, let's say, several reasons. There are several reasons for this. Now, what are those reasons we need to write? Such as over reliance on digital gadgets, right? So such as over reliance, this is considered as one word only when you put hyphen, right? Over reliance on digital gadgets, right? And desire for materialistic prosperity, right? So we'll go step by step, no issues. There are several reasons for this, such as which reasons, you have to mention. Now, over reliance on digital gadgets, so which means this is your first point, and desire for materialistic prosperity, which means your second point. Now you are telling the examiner clearly that this is what he will be looking at in the body paragraph 1, right? But now we need to discuss about the effects, obviously, with this digital gadgets, depending on them, and materialistic prosperity. So you can't say that it is going to have a good effect, right? So it will be worse, obviously, adversely. So we can use those words by writing a contradiction linker. However, right? What we can write? However, it is irrefutable, which means nobody can deny. It is irrefutable that this trend has serious. Now, this trend has what it has? Serious repercussion. We use it as a noun, right? So, here, serious repercussion on each individual and society or community, you can write. So, or society as a whole. Now, serious repercussion means negative effects, right? So, serious repercussion. Now, serious repercussion is obviously in the negative way when we are speaking, right? So, it is irrefutable that this trend has serious repercussion on each individual and society as a whole. Right? I hope the introduction is clear to you all. So once again, there is no gainsaying the fact that the recreational activities and the time spent on it has nosedived in the recent decades. It has gradually declined in the recent decades. There are several reasons for this. What are those? Such as over reliance on digital gadgets, right? And desire for materialistic prosperity. However, it is irrefutable that this trend has serious repercussion on each individual and society as a whole. Okay? Right. Now let's start with body paragraph 1. Okay. Now in here, as we have discussed, we need to mention something about the digital dependency. Let's go. So when we are starting, right, always try to give, like initiating linker, which means To commence, we use today. To commence, right? To commence with, to start with, to begin with, right? To commence. Don't write to commence with and comma. No, to commence. Let's say comma. So we always need to give a topic sentence first of all, right? It would just make a link. What I mean, to commence, there are two prominent. Now we have discussed only two reasons: over dependence on digital gadgets and your materialistic prosperity. So that's why I've written to commence. There are two prominent reasons. There are two prominent reasons for the gradual decline of hobbies in now when what time, like we are talking about in nowadays. So what else we can say to nowadays? In present era. So in present era, right? This is your topic sentence. This is what we mentioned first. So two prominent reasons for the gradual decline of hobbies in present era. So what is the first one? Now why am I writing? Obviously because I'm going to start my listing now. Very easy way of writing body paragraph. Many students, they always complain that we don't know how to, start our body paragraph. Simple. Just repeat, paraphrase your topic sentence and bring something, like a plural sentence so that you aren't forced to start firstly, secondly. This is how, right? Now, we'll be using primarily. So what's the first reason we discussed? Right? The gadgets. So the revolutionized, right? So we are talking about gadgets, right? The revolutionized digital era. What is it has done? You know, the digital era, what it has, like how we can say that, it has actually made people. Okay, how it has made people. It has made people, couch potato, right? So they're leading a sedentary lifestyle now. Right. So those vocabulary we can use. So primarily, the revolutionized digital era makes citizens. Now I'm going to use another word for citizens, right? It's common. So it makes denizens, right? So the revolutionized digital era makes denizens couch potato, right? So it makes denizens couch potato. How? In front of. Now I'm going to talk about, since I have said before even that I will be talking about workaholics, right? So let's talk something about them only. In front of laptops, comma, in front of laptops, smartphones, and so forth, right? The revolutionized digital era makes denizens couch potato in front of laptops, smartphones, and so forth, right? So what is happening? Therefore, obviously, when they're having interest in this, which means that their interest in their hobbies is getting what? Declining, right? It is reducing, it's limiting. So we are going to write the result here. Therefore, how we can, therefore, the inhabitants, which means the citizens only. Therefore, the inhabitants become, because we have written S here, so become, right? Become less interested. Where? Less interested in carrying out. Less interested in carrying out what? Right? So smartphones and so forth. Therefore, the inhabitants become less interested in carrying out any activity. Any activity apart from aforementioned devices, right? Aforementioned means these devices, smartphones, laptops. So they are spending more time there rather than carrying out any activity. Okay, so we just proved couch potato point, right? Now, another point was primarily, so another point, secondly. We use this. Secondly, now we need to talk about work, right? So let's talk about it. Secondly, people these days, people these days are becoming aspirants. So aspirants means that obviously they want to achieve something, right? So aspirants to achieve what? Materialistic prosperity we talked about in introduction. Let's say to achieve materialistic things, right? So secondly, people these days are becoming aspirants to achieve materialistic things. What do they do for that, right? So obviously, how, the question why, how, what does it provide? So how they are basically becoming aspirants to achieve materialistic things. So what do they do for that, right? For this, what do you do for this, right? So for this, they, we can talk about, like they start to work more. For that we discussed extended hours, right? So secondly, once again, people these days are becoming aspirants to achieve materialistic things, right? For this, they tend to extend their working hours. So what happens thereby, right? So what happens then? Thereby limiting the time spent on leisure activities. We just proved this point too, right? So for this, they tend to extend their working hours, thereby limiting the time spent on leisure activities. Another word for hobbies. Okay, now this is done. Now we just need to give an example. So our basically structure for body paragraph says that state your point, explain your point, give an example relevant, right? Short summary. Now as you can see, in both the sub points, central idea is same. The sub point we have discussed our word, short summary. So thereby we have used, therefore we have used. Now we are only left with giving an example to support our points, right? So since now the space is not much and I can see on the screen it's about to finish, so it is a continuous paragraph. I'm just going to write example on top. Okay, now let's start. Take this is after full stop, the one where we finished, right? So take a report from, take a report from, let's give out any name, business magazine, right? Take a report from business magazine. We need to be specific, okay? Published in 2016, right? So for example, now what happened in this report? So take a report from business magazine published in 2016, for example, right? Where it is evidently, evident means clear, right? Where it is evidently exhibited, exhibited means showed, right? Evidently exhibited that the white collars. Now we did this vocabulary for your office workers, right? So exhibited that the white collars who got selected to work in where multinational companies, right? Who got selected to work in multinational companies hardly do any hobbies, hardly do any hobbies. Why? Due to prolonged means लंबे असर तक यानी which means when you're spending a lot of time something due to prolonged working hours. Full stop. That's it. Your paragraph 1 is finished. Okay, I hope this is clear. So take a report from Business Magazine published in 2016. Now your example cannot be an assumption. Multiple studies found, for example, this recently a survey was conducted. How recent, you don't know. So you need to mention, right? This is how you're basically giving a precise example, precise support. Because an example, you will always speak about being ineffective, right? So take a report from Business Magazine. Now it's the unique magazine, so we just put it in inverted commas. Published in 2016, for example, where it is evidently exhibited that the white collars, whenever we write the, right, and we write white collars or people or like the rich, the poor, we do not write people with that. Okay, remember. So poor people, rich people, the poor, the rich, right? Similarly here, the white collars. That's why I'm not writing people. The white collars who got selected to work in multinational companies. Sorry. What happened? Hardly do any hobbies due to prolonged working hours, right? I hope this one's clear. Now, let's move on to with the effects of it. Now let's begin with the effects. Now in our essay of reasons, we have given 2 points, right? One is digital era, right? So people are basically depending on their digital devices. And secondly is they're working, they have extended their hours, right? So what kind of effect? Now remember, when we are writing our effect paragraph, we need to make sure that there is an adequate link. Whatever points we have written in body paragraph 1, they have to have relevance with the second BP. Okay, that is how you're increasing again your band score. Obviously, logic means coherence. Okay, now let's start. So let's begin with the effect. Now we are not going to write on the other hand or something, right? Because it is directly asked causes and effect, right? So no, on the other hand, we will start from there is, now this is your body paragraph 2. There is not even an iota of doubt. Iota means very small, right? So there is not even an iota of doubt that let's say, so there is, let's say, now above points, right? So there is not even an iota of doubt that the above reasons have detrimental means harmful, right? So above reasons have detrimental effects, right? On whom we need to write, so on effects on the masses, right? So detrimental effects, what other words we can talk to? Adversely, we can talk about, even we can use impact, right? So let's write now detrimental effects again, listing. Now let's start. The foremost means most important, right? The foremost impact is the, now what is reducing, right? So obviously, when you're not having hobbies, what is reducing? You're basically physical activity, right? We are talking about physical activity because we mentioned they are becoming couch potato, right? So let's talk about that. The foremost impact is the reduction, we're using as a noun, reduction in the physical activity, right? So the foremost impact is the reduction in the physical activity. Now what would happen? What will happen then? So which would result in having an unbalanced lifestyle, let's say. So obviously, when the physical activity is reducing, your physical activity, you're not doing any exercises or anything like that, so what is going to have, how it is going to impact your lifestyle? It will become unbalanced, right? Now let's develop this point. Instead of due to, because I have already used due to, now there are other grammatical structures you can use, owing to, thanks to, because of. But since we can't start because of after a full stop, right? So let's start with owing. So owing to unbalanced lifestyle, such phenomenon, owing to such phenomenon, what will happen, right? People will be, right? Or let's not use will because we can't be 100% sure. People would, right? So that's basically, using of appropriate modal verb, because you can't be 100% sure that they will be having, some kind of negative effect, right? So owing to such phenomenon, people would be, let's say, prone, so vulnerable to serious. Now we have spoke about, first of all, we spoke, like we have spoken about health, right? Maladies. So people would be vulnerable to some serious health ailments. Now don't just leave here health ailments. As you can see, which plural, what kind of, right? So let's write such as. Obviously we need to be, like we need to develop every time so that nothing stays on assumption, right? So health ailments, what type of health ailment? Such as higher blood pressure, right? Higher blood pressure. We did one word in our vocabulary 5, that is corpulence, right? Corpulence and so on, so forth we use. So let's just write so on, right? This is your first point, right? Now second, another. Now remember we talked about, like this is what we have actually linked with the digital devices, right? So with that, health elements. Now obviously the next point of our was about working, like extended working hours. So now when you are extending your working hours, what basically you're doing, you're sitting, you're working, you keep working. So do you think that your productivity is not going to get hampered? Obviously it will, right? Because you'll be gaining a lot of stress, right? So let's discuss that now. Another impact that cannot be given a miss is, now another impact that cannot be given a miss, we cannot neglect this, right? So instead of secondly, again I'm just using, some expressions. So another impact that cannot be given a miss is the loss in which of productivity. See how easy you keep going, right? Cannot be given a miss is the loss of productivity. Where? In workplace. Oh la la, that's wonderful, right? Productivity in workplace. Then what? even after working. Now, what we discussed in body paragraph 1, prolonged hours, right? Even after working for many hours. Correct. So what is the point of extending your working hours when your productivity is getting declined anyway, right? So even after working for many hours, what is the result? As a result, now you can use as a consequence or anything as a sequel. As a result, the the employees, what is going to happen to them? The employees would deprive, they'll be keep thinking what is happening, deprive of ways to, now they're obviously going to think, how we can overcome our stress, how we can overcome our stress, because they are too much stressed already to, like they're not achieving their productivity. So let's say as a result, the employees, right, the employees would deprive of ways to channelize, right, to channelize their stress. Ooh, wow, beautiful point, right? So another impact that cannot be given a miss is the loss of productivity in workplace even after working for many hours. As a result, the employees would deprive of ways to channelize their stress, right? They will not be able to, basically maintain a right balance. They will not able to strike a right balance, that how we can overcome our stress, because they are already spending too much time on their work, right? And because of that, they are not being able to perform activities, right? Because of which they are unable to channelize how they can overcome it, right? So I hope it was clear. Now, so this was your cause effect paragraphs, right? Now let's give out a conclusion and finish it up. So to conclude, you can write anything to can encapsulate, to recapitulate or anything. It's not going to give you something a band score, right? These are just the linkers. But it's not something you write to recapitulate, to encapsulate, something like that. And you think, okay, new word, examiner will be impressed. These are just the linkers. Right. So to conclude, now we have discussed already about the causes and effects, right? So to conclude, it is undeniable. What is undeniable, right? We have discussed. It is undeniable that. Now, I hope you remember the points: digital gadgets and your extending working hours. So these two things we have to try. So to conclude, it is undeniable that contemporary changes in terms of digital addiction, again noun, right? So digital addiction and work stress has lessened, it has reduced, right? It has lessened the time spent where on hobbies. So obviously we cannot write in essay evidently, right? It means it's clear, right? So evidently it is, now what is, no, it is putting some effect. It not only, let use this vocab, it not only, now what is it doing? It not only causes health maladies, we used all, sorry, we used ailments, so maladies here, health maladies, but also reflect work efficiency instead of that efficacy. This is your essay, right? So to conclude, it is undeniable that contemporary changes in respect of what? Of digital addiction and work stress has lessened the time spent where? On hobbies. Okay. So what are the effects? Evidently, it not only causes health maladies and but also reflect work efficacy. Therefore, we have used so thus, right? Thus, just a like a suggestion thing. So thus everyone should instead of that ought to. Thus everyone ought to allocate, manage, they should time, they should give out time. Everyone ought to allocate adequate means satisfactory, right? Adequate time towards what? Towards hobbies. For what? Towards hobbies, in order to reduce stress. What word we can use? Alleviate stress. There you go. You can get this upload anywhere and you can get the band score, right? So I hope the essay is clear. Okay. Now, two things we discussed about that. One is over reliance on digital gadgets. Second is extending working hours because people have become materialistic. What are the causes? Because of over dependency on electronic gadgets, people are getting some serious health ailments like higher blood pressure, right? And corpulence. Corpulence means we used couch potato at first. Corpulence means fat, right? Getting fat, right? Now, the second is obviously reflecting the productivity, right? And here, obviously, we discussed that they are getting stress. Okay, so I hope this one's the essay is clear to you, right? Thank you so much. Right. So that was our essay. Thank you so much for like looking at it. Now, Science of Education. This is my channel. Right. Please subscribe. Don't forget to do it. And this is our number 95179300229. It's Indian. Right. You can send us a WhatsApp either or Facebook. You can connect to us by finding Sai Academy 237. Right. And I'm also running, just started Let's Do Ielts, where I will be uploading all the videos, and as well as there are some other material that I have been pasting on daily basis, right? Thank you so much once again for taking your time out. Once again, have a good day.